Hey there, Internet friends. Welcome to another episode of That Nerdy Site Show, weekly podcast where the team members from That Nerdy Site get together to talk about our lives and all of the nerdy things we love about them. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and joining me this week we have Cameron Abbott. How you doing, Cameron?
Time to crack open a cold one, Trevor.
Time to crack open a cold one?
And what's up,
Sounds
nerds?
good. I'll bust open my water bottle over on my end. How you been? How's this week been for you? We were joking a little bit before we started recording. During our recording last Sunday is when the New York Times story broke about Trump's tax returns, and what a crazy week it has been since.
Yeah,
How you holding up?
In a period of time where we're in a national crisis, where our president is currently on one of the strongest medications before you die from COVID-19, pretty good actually. That sounds kind of morbid to say, but you know, uh, I'm trying not to be super disrespectful for anybody who might be politically different than me or might be wanting to feel better about this, feel more compassionate about the situation. But you live by the sword, you die by
I'm,
the sword, man.
I was gonna say very very rarely have I seen a more concise case of you reap what you sow.
Yeah,
Um,
because
in that,
yeah, it's
yeah,
because who in 2018 disbanded the emergency pandemic response team? The president.
or that'd be
Yeah,
Donald
Donald
Trump.
Trump, the president. This is not a political podcast, but I mean, it's kind of like you can't talk about
It's
this gigantic
it's
COVID-infected elephant in the room.
yeah, it's
Um,
world events and we are stating facts.
there's a reality that we will have a president die in office right before he was theoretically uh, going to be either reelected or uh, fired out of office after losing the election. So when he said there that he's like, we'll see about a peaceful transition of power. I mean, it looks like we'll have it looks like we could have one, just not the way that any of us expected. But no, when you yeah, you said it perfectly. This is a case of you reap what you sow. This is really just like it is what it is. And if you're upset by that, I understand. This is a disease that's killed more than 200,000 people in the U.S. alone. It is a horrible, horrible way to die. And I certainly wouldn't wish. I like. I never wanted this to happen to the president. Um, I thought if it did happen, it would be some sort of karmic justice, or karmic balancing, rather. But I never I would not want anybody to suffer like this before they die. So
Yeah, it's. I mean, the thing that gets me is how just 100% preventable this particular flurry of cases it seems to have been, um, and they didn't do what they could have done to limit the potential exposure, and it's just absurd that you know, was I saw earlier on Facebook or Twitter or something like that. 2020's time of 2020 Time Magazine's Person of the Year quote his petard, um, in reference to Trump being hoisted by his own petard here, and it's a surreal sequence of events. Like again, just in this last week, it started with Trump's tax returns. Then we had the debate where he told the Proud Boys to stand by. Um,
stand down and stand by. That's what he said.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and then while he was potentially already infected with this thing, or at least had been exposed to it seems. Um,
And put
ju-
everybody in
yeah,
that place
as
into danger with it. Yeah.
Chris Wallace noted that he showed up late to the debate, so he didn't get tested, and he just bypassed the testing. Didn't wear masks, like his whole team wasn't wearing masks and stuff. And yeah, just it's I Man, it's been weird. So it's been, it's been another one of those weeks where it's nice to just have video games to kind of like fall into and keep my eyes off of Twitter or doom scrolling and all that stuff. One in particular we'll be diving into for the majority of this show. But before we do any of that, a little bit of housekeeping. If you like what you hear, please remember to like, subscribe, rate, review the podcast anywhere you can. And if you're feeling generous, you can always support us on Patreon at patreon.com/thatnerdysite. Just like all of our wonderful monthly patrons, monthly Patreon producers, Pam and Bev Larson, Sherry Starkey, Teresa Wilkinson, and myself, Trevor Starkey. So yeah, let's just kind of hop in here. We have basically two things that we're going to talk about today. So we'll kick off with the shorter one here a little bit. Mario 35. You've been playing this. This came out this last week. I've seen a couple like streams and let's plays of it, but I've not hopped into it myself. So tell me about that Mario 35 experience, Cam.
So Mario 35 is a like OG Super Mario Bros. Designed and gameplay wise battle royale.
Yeah,
It's
it is Tetris 99, but with Super Mario Brothers.
yeah, in a way that like Tetris 99 works based off of like basic Tetris multiplayer, just with 99 other people. Um, and so like there's not really like a big like shift in that. Versus this is something I've never played with before. Like this is something totally different as far as like conceptually what this does. Time matters. Like you have to do. It's a combination of time management, clearing enemies, and making progress in the level. Um, you have to do what you can to keep a pace, because what you need to do is like you have a different abilities you can start off with. I always start with a fire flower, because that's just the easiest to clear out enemies. But it doesn't give you too many advantages if you get hit. Um, it's different. Like its abilities are different too. But just the idea of, okay, you want to clear out all these enemies, but then you're also getting enemies piled into your level, and they're put on the back line so you can't see where they've been placed and what's going to happen, because it's placed depending on a combination of where they were killed in their level on the other person's screen, to in what order they are showing up in like your backlog. So you can I got second place in a level that I was in a good situation to win, because I couldn't make a jump, because the place where I was supposed to be jumping from had two piranha plants side by side taking up the entire space. And there's no, because the fireball in Super Mario Brothers is a solid arc down, I couldn't hit either of them no matter what I did. And so I had to try to like make this jump, which was just going to be impossible. But I had a split second to make that decision. Um,
Yeah.
it is a fun, very like addicting gameplay style, because it's just like you are in the mode of, you're thinking, Mario, okay, I died, like start over. Get into another match. It's awesome. Like it's really really fun. Um, it's challenging
Mm-hmm.
and super rewarding when you like start hearing the knockout sounds of people that you're knocking out, and you're like, yes,
Mm-hmm.
like yes. Also, if you are a person who goes to the ocean level on purpose, I hate you. You're sending squids my way, and squids should not be appearing in some of these levels. You are a bad person, and you should feel bad.
I mean, it seems like a pretty good strategy, though.
You'd think so,
It,
but
it's getting you very flustered. It's the high risk, high reward of the water levels in Mario.
I've just also
Uh,
seen a lot of people like, just like, I can see that a bunch of people have gone to the water levels, and then like pretty soon they're dead, and it's like, well, there you go. That's what you get.
yeah. So that's one of the things that I've been, because I've watched some streams, but it's basically been like I've watched the streams while I've been playing Hades, so I'm not paying too close attention to what's actually going on in the streams. It's like I'll watch Andy, and he'll get very very cocky, and then I will hear the like him dying sound, and just know that things got very bad very quickly for him, like he jumped down a hole or something like that. And it's one again another one of those like fun Schadenfreude moments. But it's so like when you hop in, if you hop into like level 1-1, you could be going through level 1-1, but somebody could be going through 1-4 or 2-2 or something like that, and it's like it's broken up like that. It doesn't really put everybody in at the same like starting point.
So you can choose where you want to go, or you can randomize it. But yeah, once you like when you clear levels, they unlock for you as far as like where you can start with. Some people like to start in Bowser's Castle, because then they can
Mm-hmm.
drop a Bowser on somebody early in the match. Because that's the thing, when you hit like when you kill Bowser, he is an enemy that then goes to another person's map. I had a Bowser drop on the level where there's the Hammer Bros. So I had to kill two Hammer Bros and a Bowser and a flying squid. I did it. I cursed a lot, but I did it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, gosh, that squid was just all over the place while I'm trying to dodge hammers and fire blasts. It was not a great time. Um, I got pretty lucky with a both Hammer Bros ended up being like kind of on the same block when one jumped down and the other was there, and I kind of just like hit them at the right time to knock both of them out.
Yeah.
But Bowser was like a nightmare dodging his fire blast, and then also the squid. I didn't even kill the squid. I killed Bowser and the Hammer Bros, and then I was like, peace, deuces, I'm out. Like burn in hell, you squid. Um, and then I like and you know I got like I've not won yet, but I've gotten tons of second and third places. Uh,
That was gonna be my next question was if you'd picked up the number one yet.
nope, haven't picked up that W yet, but I've gotten some pretty close L's. So
Okay. Um. Ha- so one of the things obviously that like made waves when this got announced was that this, along with the Mario 30 or the Super Mario 3D All Stars, is only going to be available till March 31st. Um. And I was less concerned about this one because I felt like come April 1st, especially with the game launching now, come April 1st, how easy is it going to be to get 35 people into a match? How many people are going to be like routinely still playing the game, that you can kind of keep making those cases, those matches, like because I barely hear anybody talking about Tetris 99 anymore. And so it felt like, hey, maybe that's just like the natural end of life that they're aiming to have on servicing this game. Is that? I mean, obviously it's the hot thing in the moment right now. But is that? Do you think I am just completely out of my depth there, and know this will have legs and people will kind of stick with this for a little while,
well,
or
yeah,
is that seem like you're gonna play this for a few weeks and then move on to the next thing?
yeah, that's a great question, Trevor. And I think for a lot of people, it will be that thing that they do now, but then they kind of like move on from. With Tetris 99, especially, like they still support that game.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
still updates regularly, different events. Like they're fun, like different like variations of Tetris game types in Tetris 99 is a lot of fun sometimes. Um, that being said, like it's like I stopped playing Tetris 99 so much when I lapsed out of having a Nintendo online membership. Ever since I got that back again, I've picked it up. I've played it a few times. Definitely not invested into it as much as I was before then. But with this one in particular, like I'm not bothered by the date range and like the date end date on it because it's a free download.
yeah.
Um, like it's like Super Mario All Stars. I have like not a bone to pick with it, but rather just like I just think that the date range is arbitrary and stupid because you have to buy this game, and it's not like it's $5 for these three games. It's a significant chunk of change versus a free download. So for a free download, time range, exclusive, whatever, that's fine to me. I think that's totally fair. Um, but Super Mario All Stars, that's one I still think is a bad idea to have a date range for it. But I digress. No, I think that you're not necessarily wrong. I think that that definitely happens with the flavor of the week type thing. But Mario 35, I like it. it's possible it'll keep getting support even after that date range. Um, like we'll see. We'll see. I would love to have more confidence in that, but from the like from what we've seen from like the support from Mario Maker 2, it's not a like Mario Maker 2 I believe had its last update. So,
Yeah.
yeah, like for them to basically be like, cool, so this game is not going to have any more updates. So there's no big anything on it. Granted, it's like it's infinite Mario levels because people will still keep making them, but like without any like significant updates, there's no real like uh revitalization for
Yeah.
streamers.
There's nobody coming back to it for any
Yeah.
reason.
So I've loved Mario 35 especially because like I'm like you mentioned Danny Cortez, streamer and friend of ours who is like his best streams have been his Mario Maker streams where he plays like ludicrously like just absolutely insane hard levels that are designed to make you want to quit. And like he was chatting with the chat early before like he started a full on stream, and was like, like maybe we'll like stop playing Mario 35 and like maybe we'll do something else. And he said because like Mario 35, and I pointed out I was like, Andy, you still have like 3 emotes that are dedicated solely to you playing Mario Maker. Like there's no other game in Andy's like Twitch emotes that has like a singular like use, and all 3 of them come from Mario Maker, which is the Obonobo, the um, don't restart Andy, like don't restart.
I remember him doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the thing is, like I have so many amazing memories tied to watching Andy play Mario Maker. So like even if this doesn't last a very long time, I think for the people that like are streamers or content creators, like this is still a really fun thing. And I think what we'll see is once again, like with Tetris Effect, sorry, not Tetris Effect, Tetris 99, a niche community will kind of like grow around it and stay consistent with it, even if they don't get a lot of support afterwards.
Yeah, it's one of those like the battle royales in general, like I mean, I guess really multiplayer in general, always seems to you get like a big old flurry of people coming in of all skill levels, and then eventually people of the more novice and intermediate stuff kind of get tired of it and fall off, and then it becomes like only the experts, and it seems like so often like if you try and come into something late, you're going to get clowned out because everybody else that's still playing the game has been playing the game since the beginning. And so, in something like this, the people that are going to hop in January kind of moved away from this, but also before the like, hey, this is going away soon, so everybody kind of get your last kicks in. Like the people playing in January are going to be like the your like top level Mario 35 people, and anybody coming in is just gonna be like, I'm getting overwhelmed by all these Bowsers. What the hell? Bowsers and Squid people all over the place. If that becomes like the meta strategy or something like
Yeah.
that.
I will also say
Yeah.
that they could easily like on March 31st, they could easily just be like, hey, so this version is done. Next one, Mario 2. Remember Mario 2? And like so instead you have like Mario 2 levels that you can select from, and they could keep it fresh that way where it's just like like every season, like it's a seasonal thing. So like this season,
I was
season 1 Super Mario Brothers, season 2 Super Mario Brothers, probably not Mario Brothers 2 because that was technically a
uh,
different game in
uh,
Japan.
yeah, I was gonna say I feel like they'll never give this kind of love to Super Mario Brothers 2. Like the fact that they put the original All Stars collection out on the service, the SNES Online, and made that available to everybody is probably the most Super Mario 2 we're gonna get anytime in the next
That's
five
fair.
years
So,
until the 40th anniversary.
so that's fair. So the next one will probably be like if they did this seasonally, it would be Super Mario Brothers 3, which like I would love.
Yeah.
Like I love Super Mario Brothers 3. That's the first video game I ever played. I cut my teeth on it. Like I learned how to hit A to jump from that. Like they're like Mario Super Mario Brothers 3 has a much deeper appreciation in my heart because that's the game that like I mentioned, I literally cut my teeth on it. So um, yeah, I hope they do something like that, like Super Mario Brothers World season. And if they like just keep these rotational and then they say, okay, cool, that was super fun. Back to Super Mario Brothers 1. There we go. And then it's a nice refreshing like redo of that. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. It's definitely fascinating. One of the other things I'm curious about before we move on from that is how do the worlds unlock? Is it like you collect coins and you level up, and once you reach certain levels, you can get access to your other worlds to start, or is it like, oh, if you reach those through playing the game or something, that's what unlocks them?
It's the latter. If you reach them while playing through the game, it unlocks them.
Okay. So if you basically just go through straight through and play whatever levels you can, and you get to, say, in one run you get to world 2-2 or something like that, and then the next time around you start in world 2-2 and you just kind of keep playing through, you can basically just unlock everything that way.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, cool. Yeah, maybe I'll hop into it at some point. But the thing that I've been really diving into, and you can also speak to as well here, is Hades. I don't remember if we talked about it last week or anything, that it had come out and had taken the world by storm and everything. I picked it up Wednesday night, maybe. Yeah, that sounds right. And then I like immediately played it until like 5 in the morning, and then basically did that every night for the last few nights. And it's not been the most healthy thing, but I have definitely become addicted to Hades, the latest game from Supergiant.
Go figure.
I
Concerning how
right,
how
yeah.
far did Pyre get in our best of PlayStation?
Yeah, yeah. For any of our Patreon supporters, you can go listen to our thoughts on Pyre in our PS4 bracket ranking, and Pyre definitely made some strong upsets in that in that ranking.
Yeah, in a committee of people, like 3 of you didn't even play, like don't even play sports games.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I habitually play sports games, and I was like shocked with how endearing this game is for you guys. So
Yeah, and I mean, this is a similar thing. I traditionally I have gotten into very few roguelikes. Rogue Legacy is one that stands out in my mind, and I'm hard pressed to really think of like any others that really like captured me to the point that I played through till the end. Oh, Brutal, I guess, is another one.
mm-hmm.
And shout out to Brutal because I have the world's first platinum in that one. Haha. Thank you to the devs that that gave me a preview review build. But yeah, like it's very rare that I am interested in sticking with something like that.
Wait, quick segue. We got to do a really quick
yeah,
segue here. Um,
sure.
oh, never mind. I thought this was part of the. So Jeff Keighley does like Sunday afternoon like calls, Zoom calls
Mm-hmm.
for people. Oh, never mind. This was what it was. So every Sunday he does these special like Zoom calls for people who emailed him about like why they love the Game Awards, and if you are selected,
Yeah,
you get a go on it.
I got the invite to like apply to be a part of that call, but
You should have been on
I
the
did
call
not.
for today because
I did not
the
respond.
guest was
Well,
the guest is Reggie Fils-aimé.
Sorry. Oh, okay.
Like literally the man, the myth, the legend, Reggie himself.
I saw Steve Saylor had spoken to him. I didn't know that was as part of the Keeley call.
Yep.
But cool. Yeah, shout out to that.
Sorry, that was just I was like, hey, this is a cool segue. Let's do this real quick and then hop back into it. So Hades, yeah.
So yeah, Hades, being a roguelike, but being a roguelike that is accessible to me. Like, I have so little interest in hopping into Spelunky, despite knowing people who love that game dearly, because I know, having played the first Spelunky a little bit, that is very much like nothing carries over. You are playing a run and you're trying to get as far as you can, and that's about it. Whereas this, and I've I think we talked about it a little bit with Brandon last week, probably off off of the podcast. Well, it might have been somewhere in the 4.5 hours of us going through the PS4 bracket. But Hades is something I think I probably even maybe picked up on the Epic Game Store back when it launched as early access. But I never really hopped into it because I'm just not a PC person. But I wanted to support them. And so finally I hopped in, picked it up on Switch this week. And so it's a game that I've like tangentially been aware of and known it was coming, and it was the kind of thing, even like the beginning of this week, I was probably just going to wait until it came to PlayStation eventually. And at this point, like I will definitely go in and pick it up on PlayStation eventually when it comes there as well. But it does a great thing of like, yes, there are things that absolutely like you lose at the end of a run, but there's enough different things that carry over and help carry into future runs and make things, easier or better. I didn't initially play through with the God mode option that basically like just has your damage resistance like continually ticking up every time you die. So eventually you're up there in the 50%, 70% like damage resistance and the God mode kind of thing. But playing it naturally, I just, for the first few days there, I just kind of kept like just playing and playing and playing. Finally cleared the game on my 30th attempt. I have done like probably another 10 since that I have not come back to clearing. But I'm just really enjoying it. There's great writing. There's great kind of story. There's a whole bunch of great, wonderful characters. It's a super giant game, so like the inherent tropes of the art style being amazing and the music being amazing are just kind of a given at this point. And as somebody who's been a fan of Greek mythology since elementary school, specifically the Orpheus and Eurydice myth is something that I've always loved, as well as the Hades and Persephone stories. Like I love really any chance to like experience those, so much so that as I've been playing Hades, I've been like re-listening to Hades Town, and just enjoying that as like the full-on Hades experience. So yeah, I'm loving it. I'm having a great time with it. Right before we like an hour or two ago, I guess probably about an hour ago as of recording, I booted up a new save just to test out what the God mode stuff feels like, and I think I beat Meg in my first like in run number 4 or something like that. So it still took me a little ways to get like to her and through her. She's the first kind of level boss in the game, for those that don't know. And yeah, I'm just enjoying like that's definitely a more enjoyable way to play for me, because it makes it less bombarding. But yeah, I'm just really enjoying it, and it absolutely encourages like different exploration and different play styles, and testing all sorts of different things out. So I'm having a great time with it. How about you, Cam?
So yeah, like you, I was a big fan of Greek mythology. I think everybody was during that like phase of our lives. So 1 second.
I mean, growing up here in the States, we didn't have American mythology, so
Like we did, but like it's hard to separate like American mythology, especially with as like as a colonized country. There's like Native American like religious history and like theology
yes,
that is oftentimes like looped into mythology, which is kind of not cool. If you like don't call Native American like theology and history mythology, it's kind of offensive to them.
and that's what I mean is
So
like by the time we've reached kind of the modern age, we look at Greek mythology and we don't think of that as theology, but of course it was theology of the time. But we've pretty much gotten to a point where I don't know of too many people that are still thinking Zeus is out there running around in Mount Olympus and stuff like that.
yeah, no, certainly not. No.
Yeah.
I will say that in particular for me, like Hades has always been my favorite Greek god. I think that, and mainly because if there's one thing about Hades, and something that I actually like really do enjoy about this game, is Hades is done very well. Where like Hades initially comes off as like you know, quite a prick to his son until
Mm-hmm.
you realize that like you can definitely see it from his perspective where like he clearly knows something about the situation that he's not telling Zagreus, and Zagreus understandably is upset about that and is going to do something about it because if you like his father before him, if you're upset at a situation, you should fix it. That's what his father did when he went to war against his own father. Um, no, but what I've always appreciated about Hades is all the other Greek gods and goddesses are kind of massive assholes. Um, Even like the quote unquote like good ones, uh, still suck. Like Zeus is this philanderer, adulterer, like rapist. Um, same thing with like Poseidon. And Poseidon actually gets like kind of incestuous sometimes. And then on top of that, you have like Aphrodite is terrible. When a woman said like when a woman was told that she was like people said, oh, she's more beautiful than Aphrodite. Aphrodite literally turned her into a gorgon. Um, oh no, that's not who she turned into a gorgon. She murdered that girl. Uh, she already just killed her. And then for like the history of like who Medusa is Medusa was a priestess who was like attacked and like violated, and when she prayed to the gods for help, they literally turned her into an ugly snake woman out of punishment for letting that happen to her. Like Greek gods, not cool. Um, and you kind of see that like when you have to do like the trials of the gods between like you have to pick one of them, and then like the other one is just like, well, I got to do it to you. Sorry, like I hate to do it to you, Zagreus, but like I'm gonna give your enemies like power buffs, and then also like it's just it's always been like a like I've always liked it that Greek mythology is filled with like the quote unquote gods are like really fickle and very uncaring towards mortals, and the only one who seems to be an exception to that is the one guy who they never prayed to. Hades is somebody who, like, if you study Greek mythology and you learn about it, you understand that there was never really a like the cult of Athena, the cult of Zeus, like all these like I guess you could also call them like churches, but because they weren't like a sanctimonious like thing, they're kind of historically known as cults. Um, but the cult, like there was no cult of Hades. People actually didn't even like to refer to Hades by his name, because they were afraid of him. And it's crazy because Hades has like, if there's one dude who's never done mortals really bad or really wrong, it's Hades. Um, like even with the like you mentioned, you're a big fan of Orpheus and Eurydice. Uh, like Hades gives him a good deal. Like like
He gives him a chance to cheat death.
yeah, which
Yeah.
is crazy because the last person who cheated death, Hades had Zeus hit him with a lightning bolt to kill him. Uh, that's a fun story about like the son of Apollo uh, cheating death. Like he was such a good healer that he cheated death, and so Hades was like, "Yeah, that's bad for business. Hey Zeus, hit that guy with the lightning bolt."
I mean, that definitely sounds like a bad Hades story.
You'd think so, except Hades was upset because like the karmic balance was upset, like the whole like life and
Mm-hmm.
death thing. And so he's like, "Hey, this guy is like healing people who are dead. Like he's bringing the dead back to life. So like their souls are in the underworld, and he's bringing them back to life. And like that's not how this thing is supposed to work." And Zeus, like, you need to figure it out. And Zeus is like, "Okay, I have a solution. Lightning bolt." And then Apollo's just like, "Hey, that's my son." And Hades is like, "Hey, I didn't want him to hit him with a lightning bolt, but like it had to be solved." And Apollo's like, "Well, hey, like it's kind of like a like that was a dick move." And Hades goes, "You know what? You're right. It was a dick move. Like let's go ahead. Hey Zeus, like let's enshrine this guy as like a minor god." And so like gets lifted out of the underworld for that. So Like even then, like even at his like worst, Hades is not like not that bad of a dude. And so it's funny to see him play this like dickish, like overprotective father who's like, I'm gonna keep you away from the world, Zagreus. Daddy's gonna keep you safe. And then it's just like, but also like later on when you're like dying a lot, I've only like played it 18 times.
Okay.
I haven't cleared it yet because I can basically pretty much always get to the Elysium Coliseum,
Mm-hmm.
and for some reason I cannot get past the second phase of Asterius and what's his name? Theseus.
Theseus.
Yeah, I'm not getting past these guys, and like it's frustrating because like I'll go in there with like 3 extra lives, and
Yeah.
like they eventually gets to a point where like I am not doing, like they're preventing me from doing enough damage, and they're putting out so much damage I can't keep up with it. Uh,
Yeah, it's tough. It's tricky because Theseus in particular really relies on a shield. So you can so a lot of your attacks on Theseus there get blocked, and you have to basically just try and backstab him if you can, that kind of stuff.
yeah,
Plus, he gets to call on the gods that like aren't helping you. So like it's an interesting, like the mechanics of that fight are pretty cool, I think.
they're really
Um,
cool.
uh,
I can
yeah,
beat, like I can beat Asterius on his own because that was like a solo fight I had to do at one point. Um,
yeah,
and Asterius, like yeah,
and that's
like I
even that's another thing I like, that if you find him throughout Elysium and you beat him, he goes into that final fight with like weakened HP.
yeah, not enough, but still,
No, yeah, no,
yeah, no,
no. It's like you get him down to quarter health when you fight him in the like a mid boss fight, and then he comes back and he's got like 3/4 health, and it's like, what the, like, no, I took way more out of
yeah,
that. Whatever,
yeah.
dick.
No, it like I'm having
He,
fun.
he clearly found some Charon's fountains as well, or Charon's wells,
Yeah,
and healed himself up.
yeah, no, it's good stuff. But like so I haven't gotten through that much. But what I like about it is though when you die enough times, like Hades is very much like I'm trying to be mean to you, but at the same time, like I'm actually kind of proud of you. But I don't want to tell you that I'm proud of you because that'll just
Hmm.
like give you more motivation to get out of here, and I don't want that. And it's like okay, like once again, like the good guy Hades is like kind of shining through. Um, and it's like that's frustrating. Like I can only imagine how frustrating that is for Zagreus because he's just like nobody like you have all the answers that I want, but you won't tell me.
Yeah.
And I like that aspect of their relationship where there is there is a deep like care between the two. Like when Zagreus talks to Cerberus, he like mentions like, hey, like look out for Dad, would you? Like look out for Father. Like
Hmm.
like it's that there's something so like it's clear that Zeus or that Hades is like old school like hard knocks kind of god. Like he literally from the moment he was born he was swallowed by his father, and then like grew up in his stomach, and then when he got out he went to war against his father. Like he's a hard man and he's been through some hard times, and Zagreus has kind of had this like almost posh princely lifestyle that now he's like trying to like abscond from and like run away from. And like how like I like it's crazy interesting and I love the relationship between Zagreus. Zagreus is a great character.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say like the Zagreus in general, but like the writing and the characters are kind of like just phenomenal as you're speaking to. Like yeah, the dynamic that Zagreus has with Hades is, initially I mean, is very antagonistic, given the circumstances, and that Zagreus is trying to escape from hell basically, but like you see him just be so much warmer to everybody else. Even Megara, who is like again that first boss you fight, when you then encounter her after the fact, like he's constantly trying to be like, hey, like I hope we're cool. I get that you're just doing your job. I'm just trying to leave. Like I hope like we can still be friends basically when all this is said and done. And I love that dynamic, and the different dynamics he has with like just with like Achilles and Dusa and Nyx, and just yeah, all those different characters is a ton of fun.
well,
And seeing
Megara's
kind
an
of
interesting case because canonically she's Zagreus' ex-girlfriend.
Mm,
Oh,
okay.
did you not know that?
I mean, I honestly did not remember Zagreus being an actual character from mythology, from
Oh
Greek
no no no
mythology.
no no no!
And
In the game,
again, maybe that's
canonically, like in the game.
oh, in okay.
Sorry, in Greek.
No,
Yeah,
that I did not catch.
yeah.
And maybe that's I haven't like either I missed that in the dialogue or I didn't like I have not been I've been completing the codex as best I can, but I've not been reading any of the entries and stuff.
Once again, Trevor, you are missing the
I
critical
know
information. The
it's
critical information of the
it's
lore is there. You just have to read it. No, when
I
you talk to her, she mentions a couple of times when he's just yeah, I just like I'm like she goes, you need to stop doing this because like it can't go back to the way it used to be. And you can tell like there's moments where Zagreus is like really sweet on Megara when you give her nectar and stuff. Like it's like this like really sweet moments of like trying to reconcile what is probably like a relationship that's just not going to work out. Because they mention a lot of times like Zagreus before the start of the game was like super lazy and like didn't do anything and
mm-hmm.
like had a hard time, like Hades had a hard time trying to find motivation for Zagreus to do stuff.
Yeah, how many so like the and one of the interesting things I like about the game is how story gets doled out over
Yes.
time. And eventually basically you get like prompted to go rest and that's where you're going to get like a flashback to events. How many of those have you gotten?
I have gotten a prompted like flashback one to rest,
Okay.
which is the one where you find the letter from Persephone, which reveals the ruse.
Yeah.
Which is, oh, I guess we should actually probably put a little premise here. We're getting into some spoilery stuff, but also the story of Hades is essentially. So, people who don't know, Zagreus is a character from Greek mythology. He is a like canonical son of Hades and Persephone. Um, in fact, many people don't know this. Hades has three children. They are Zagreus. I forgot the daughter's name, and Plautos. Plautos is the Greek god of wealth, like monetary wealth. The daughter is the Greek god of like I think it's like I kind of want to. I think it might be like painful or violent death. Um,
Makaria,
Macaria.
or in some cases
Yeah,
Melano or Malinoe. I don't.
yeah.
Yeah.
That I'm trying to remember what she was the goddess of. But that's fine. And then Zagreus is the god of sacrifice and rebirth. So Zagreus is an interesting tale because there's two different Zagreuses depending on which cult you followed. If you followed the uh, Orphean cult, which is essentially the idea that Zeus and Hades are actually the same person but different aspects of the same deity. He is the son of the Hades of what's called Zeus Hades, which is Hades, like Zeus in his Hades aspect and Persephone. Um, and the Orphic myth is that uh, Zagreus was tempted out of the underworld by the Titans, who, when he left the protection of the underworld, they uh, tore him apart and ate him. And from his remains, Zeus like had him reborn as Dionysus. So he's the Orphic Dionysus. Dionysus outside of Orphic myth, like Orphic versions of mythology, is not the same as Zagreus. He does not have that same backstory. Zagreus in traditional Greek mythology is the like the Greek god of like it's interesting. He's the Greek god of like death and rebirth, like coming back from the dead, blood sacrifice, as well as hunting. But specifically, because somebody who hunts animals without a bow, like using traps and stuff, is or not traps, but catching something alive. So not hunting something down and killing it, but catching it alive. Uh, that like he's the Greek god of that. So a lot of the dialogue he has with Artemis is real friendly, and I feel like that's kind of like a nod to their like cordial relationship as being both gods of hunting, where Zagreus is hunting and preserving life, where Artemis is hunting and taking life. So
Yeah, they definitely like they definitely seem to have a like a recognition of similarities in kind of their backgrounds through a lot of that dialogue. And so yeah, like even that is, I love that there are subtle nods to, the grander relationships that, all these characters have kind of in the larger mythos of everything.
There's a lot of care into this.
But yeah,
There's
like,
so much care being put into this game. From both like
absolutely,
the
yeah.
Greek mythology aspect, if you're a fan of it, to just gameplay wise. Gameplay, the different weapon variations. I finally used the Titan blood on one of my weapons. I figured out how to do that.
Uh-huh.
I unlocked Hades' version of the spear, and it is
Okay.
sick.
Hmm.
Like I love it. I'm mostly using
Is that,
Vrothra. I'm
yeah,
mostly using Vrothra the spear. That's my preferred build. Uh,
that's
yeah.
I typically go with whatever has the darkness, and as a result, I think I've only used the spear like 2 or 3 times, because it just hasn't been getting that. But I think in one of my last runs, I did, and I also added the Titan blood to because that Hades, like the second, or the like the second level unlock kind of thing.
Yeah. What I like about yeah,
It's the first one down that you unlock in the list of 4, basically, right?
uh, yeah. Well, no, it's technically third on the list of four. Because
Okay, so you spent 2 Titan blood to unlock
yeah, I
that one
did,
then.
and it was worth it because
Okay.
the spin attack on it becomes like has like a long term debuff to it, and it's super good. The spirit, like the thing about it is, it's like aspect of Zagreus is like the first one that unlocks for all the weapons, which is essentially it's
Yeah.
Zagreus's version of the weapon, and then the second one
Yeah.
is usually like a hero from Greek mythology, and the third one is like the aspect of like what God used it in the war against the Titans.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of people don't realize this, but a lot of times, like Hades is shown with some sort of staff weapon, but it's a bident, a two-pronged spear, and also like historically known as Vrothra. It's a it's not at the same level of like Poseidon's trident or Zeus's lightning bolt or Hades' helm of invisibility, but it is a like notable like weapon that he used to wield. Um, which is cool. Like once again, this like really paying attention to detail of Greek mythology to really pull so many threads out of it. And I'm just so in love with this game, man. I'm so enthralled with
Yeah.
it. The idea of it's a roguelike game, which, I will say the only thing I don't like about it is that um, I don't get to keep my weapon upgrades, but that's pretty much it. Because I feel like if I
Yeah.
could keep a consistent weapon upgrade throughout the game, I could definitely get better with it. Uh,
And
yeah,
that's, I mean, that's what the Titan blood stuff is for. That's how you can upgrade the weapons in a permanent sense. Kind of what you're doing there is you're either unlocking, or you can kind of keep powering up that thing once you've unlocked it. Versus the Daedalus hammer stuff that is like, hey, here's your temporary upgrade for this
yeah,
run, and that's like, again, especially for many of my runs, I kind of go in like, I'm not anticipating this is going to be a victory run. Especially based on like some of the early things that get doled out. I'm like, this isn't going to be a great build for me. So a lot of times I just shift into, let me unlock as many of those minor prophecy things as I can,
mm,
and just let me find anything that has the scroll icon, meaning I haven't used it yet. So it'll check off the box on that. So when I come back, I can, maybe unlock a crap ton of gems or something that I can use to upgrade stuff. And yeah, so like even those elements I appreciate, and I appreciate that you can, level those up with the palm
the
things.
pomegranates, yeah.
Yeah, the pomegranates. Yeah, I mean, there's such a fun and deep and varied customization. The especially earlier on, before like my first real full completion, the things, like what was getting me furthest was just anytime there was a centaur heart, that's where I went, so I could just get more and more health, and anytime I could restore a defy,
Defy
was it
death,
death
death
defy,
defied,
yeah.
yeah.
And anytime like I lose one, oh, I can restore one, great, I'm gonna spend all the coins I have, to do that. And so yeah, what when I finally was able to kind of get through the first clear, it was like, oh yeah, I had like 350 health going into into that final fight, and I think still 2 extra lives or something like that, and it made it like manageable, compared to, oh, if I just don't have any of those. But then I will also have other runs where, especially kind of past where you're at in like the final section, like Karan has, a shop that kind of continues to be accessible for a little bit, where you can basically see like, oh, he's got a diamond for 1,000 coins. I've got 750 coins. Can I get up to 1,000 and buy that diamond? And there's always basically one of those like big ticket items, either diamond or Titan's blood, in his kind of stock at the end. And so there have been runs where I'm just like, I'm just gonna go through this run and try and get as much coin as I can to go and buy a diamond, because I want to go back into the house and I want to purchase an upgrade thing, and I've already collected diamonds for all of the weapons, so it becomes that much harder to get another one to unlock the next thing I want to unlock. So I will do runs where I'm like, I'm not even trying to win this run, I'm just trying to get as much money as I can and get to that point and do a spend run basically. And so even that kind of like even going into the game trying to not beat the game is a weird feeling for me, but I'm enjoying and I'm having fun with it, because there is just like, because if I can get that diamond and I can unlock the thing that I'm trying to unlock, it's gonna mean every time I get darkness, I'm also gonna collect something else in the world or something like that. And I'm really enjoying a lot of that stuff. And then there's also like fun, just little cosmetic things you can add. You can add rugs around the place and clean up some Cerberus scratch marks on the ground of the lounge if you want, or something like that. Yeah, I'm having a good time. Have you gotten to fishing yet?
No. There's fishing?
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's you can at some point you can pick up a rod from the architect, for like I think a diamond or something like that, and then randomly throughout your run there will be like little glimmers of light in the water or in the lava or whatever, like water things, and yeah, you can just do a quick little mini fishing game that you can then take to the chef in the lounge, and he'll give you like gems or keys or darkness or something. Like he will give you like rewards for bringing him fish, and so it's just another little fun little aspect of the game. There's lore for the fish, and yeah, I'm like, there's just so much fun about the game. I've gotten all but one of the keepsakes at this point, because I've given pretty much everybody nectar, because that's another element, is you can collect nectar out in the world, and then you can give nectar to pretty much anybody that you can speak with, and the first time you give them something, give them nectar, they will give you a keepsake that is basically an accessory you can equip that will add a buff, or kind of it'll add some kind of buff that you can then level up, if you wear that through X number of encounters, and it'll make the buff stronger up to like 3 levels, I think. And yeah, so I've got all but one of the keepsakes. I'm pretty sure the final keepsake I just can't I couldn't get, or I can't get until I have a second clearance of the game. But I don't know. I haven't like actually looked into that, but yeah. Are you? Is there any keepsake in particular that you're rocking?
A Lucky Tooth.
Lucky
Yeah.
Tooth. What does the Lucky Tooth do off the top?
It gives you an extra death defied.
Oh, okay. I should definitely equip that one then. One of the ones that I think the first one that I got like up to 3 stars was the one that will occasionally drop health in jars. And I got that up to like, oh, there's like a 15% chance it'll drop or something like that, or no, the thing that drops restores 15 health. I think it's like a 6% chance it'll be in a jar, and that came in super handy again, given that like my best runs tend to be the ones where I have the most potential health. But yeah, I've not used the Lucky Tooth, but I should definitely level that one up. But yeah. Also, have you? And maybe this is like I didn't notice it until I'd cleared the game. So maybe that's not. Maybe that's when it becomes accessible, or maybe I just missed it. But in your Mirror of Darkness, which is where you can kind of use the darkness to add permanent buffs and permanent things like extra death defies and extra damage for such and such a thing and extra dash. Do you have the option to toggle like the I want to say like, oh, you can use death defy, or you can switch it. There's a toggle at some that gets added at some point. Again, it might be like a post game thing, but you can toggle it at some point, and instead of getting death defies, you can purchase this thing, and you can survive any encounter. So any like level of a chamber, basically, you can die and you'll get like restored for 30% health once. Versus the death defies, which are like, hey, for this run you have X number. Um, is that something you've been able to see?
Yeah,
That you
I can toggle those. Yeah.
on those? Okay. I just completely missed that then until the post game where like it was like, hey, you've cleared the game using all of these buffs. Here are the other 10 or whatever. And I was like, where the hell are those? And then I went to the mirror and I saw on the left hand side like, oh, like plus or whatever. And I was like, oh, this is where they are. Did not know any of that stuff. I was doing all the purple ones instead of the green ones or whatever on the flip side. So yeah, but I like, so even that, like, I love that I quote unquote beat the game and I was still like discovering that much more new stuff. Yeah. Have you encountered, or we talked about Orpheus and Eurydice? Are you kind of encountering their story as you go? Have you encountered Eurydice in the
Yeah, I
world?
have. I met her actually my first time through the fields. Um,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, hey, or like, oh, hey, this is cool. And I was like, and I went to Orpheus, and I'm like, hey, I just want to tell Orpheus that I know where she is. Why can't I do that? Like, let me do that. But it's like, no, you have to like I have not seen her since the first time I saw her, so I'm working on it, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna be like a thing that you have to get get the architect to like the contractor to help you out. But yeah, I'm excited to like. I really like the like helping out and patching up stuff that you get to do with the game. Whether it's unlocking stuff, the lounge, making things easier for people, like getting Orpheus out of Tartarus, out of like as like a contract thing, and like helping him get his groove back, kind of like get back into the playing some music.
Mm-hmm.
I've really enjoyed I put up some violets for Nyx to have around her, so she's not just in that corner by herself with nothing around her. Um,
Yep.
like put some soft cushions in the lounge for people. Uh, really like the one thing that is like a wonderful little note is that there is a like employee of the run thing in the lounge.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I love Zagreus' comments about it, like, oh, Thanatos is up there. Oh, good for him. Or like, oh, the
Mm-hmm.
shady merchant. Ah,
Yeah. And then the shade merchant gets like a little smiley face over
yeah,
his head.
it's wonderful. Truly, truly wonderful. I love it a lot. No, yeah,
One of my favorite little things, and you since you haven't beaten the Theseus fight, you have not encountered this yet. But there's one shade in the stadium there that is a different color, and basically like if you walk over to that shade after beating that fight, Zagreus will have like fun little comments each run that I really enjoy. It's one of my favorite, like very like easily didn't have to be there kinds of things in this game, but I just love it every time, to the point that I like make a point to go hear what that little comment's going to be.
yeah. It's really great. The little touches that they've done with this game really put it over the top. I really do think that it's a massive contender for Game of the Year.
Yeah.
Uh, like to a point where it's going to be like this is going to be like Cyberpunk hasn't even come out yet. Like this is where things are at right now with Game of the Year is that we literally have some of the best games that have ever come out.
Mm-hmm. Have you encountered any of the other Furies yet?
Yes, I have encountered both of them.
Okay, it's like that was another cool thing that like because I just gotten so accustomed to fighting Meg, and I'm like, cool, like we're doing this dance. I haven't lost to you in like 5 or 6 runs, so I'm feeling good about this. And then like I went into that chamber, and somebody new popped up. I was like, oh, what what does this do? And then I had to kind of get accustomed to a different way of handling that fight, and I like even that kind of stuff. Yeah, like in in addition to every run being wildly different based on the boons you're getting from the gods or the weapon you're choosing or the upgrades you're getting or all that stuff, like the fact that even the kind of fights themselves or the mid bosses that you might encounter are going to be different, time and time again. And just yeah, I'm having a ton of fun with. So like that was a delight, especially when you encounter the one that just like calls you a murderer. It's like, all right, you're you're the you're the this one of this trio. Okay,
Hmm.
cool. Let's do this, I guess. Yeah. Um, cool. Any final thoughts on Hades before we wrap up the show?
Just that I definitely suggest that people give it a shot. It's quite phenomenal. Um, if you like, it's definitely a game that they have been putting a lot of time and effort into.
Mm-hmm.
It is an example of early access done completely right, and it is a game that I think is going to be a surprising upset in a lot of game of the year lists going forward. I will not be
Yeah.
surprised to see this being any site's game of the year. Um, it's an exceptionally, really solid, amazing game. And especially if you're like Greek mythology nerds like Trevor and I, like this is 100% up your alley. Give it a shot. Even if you don't like, here's the thing: even if you don't like roguelikes, this game has made people who hate roguelikes love this game. It,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
like again, case in point, me. Um, I would say, especially if you like Bastion or you like Transistor, you like the the more action centric fighting of Transistor, not necessarily the like turn based element of that fighting. Um, this is definitely like I get so many of those echoes of those games. This is
Bastion
obviously
especially.
by the same people. Bastion especially with the different weapons that you could have in Bastion. Some of the weapons here. Have you played with each of the weapons? That's one of the things we
Yes,
didn't
I
talk about,
have
I guess.
actually. I've played with each of the weapons.
You said kind of the spears is your main. The shield is my main, or is like the one I feel most comfortable with, and it's the one that I was able to kind of get my first clear with. But like the first time I played with the gun, I was like, well, this is a dumb thing in this Greek mythology game, but sure, I'm here for it, whatever. But like that also ended up being like the furthest run I had by a mile to that point. Like I cleared the first time I faced off against Theseus and the Minotaur, I cleared them and then made it all the way through until to the final boss in like that run. I guess no, the first time I faced off against Theseus and the Minotaur, I probably didn't win. But the first time I beat them, I made it through the entire next section of the game as well, and that was with the gun. I was amazed by how well I was doing with that.
Yeah, I'm not that good with it. I'm surprised to hear that
It's
you're. Like, I'm not surprised to hear that you're that more effective with it, but it definitely doesn't fit my play style. But that gun is like, if you use it right and you get the right upgrades for it, it's really good.
exactly, and very much it depends on the upgrades you get with it. Like I don't like having to do the reload, so if I can get the upgrade that turns the thing into a burst fire that you never have to upload or to reload, I love that.
Jeez, yep, I
As
did
an
not get
upgrade.
that upgrade. That upgrade probably would have been super
Yeah,
useful.
yeah. There's that. There's upgrades where you can add more ammo to it. There's upgrades where the special ability, instead of being like an arced rocket, turns into just a straight shot rocket that
Oh my
like just
gosh.
like was destroying things. And so I think I just got like a great build with that gun the first time out.
Have you ever talked to
That
Ares
where I
when
was
you
just
have
like,
that equipped?
I don't know because that's another one. Like I've done a couple runs with it, but since I just kind of lean into whatever has the darkness buff, I've not played too many times
Okay.
with it really. So I don't know if I've and Ares is one of the gods that I tend to not like if given the option, like Ares and Hermes are a couple of the gods that I just for whatever reason tend to avoid at this point because I just like the buffs that I get from a lot of the other gods
That's interesting.
more.
I'm that way with
Um,
Zeus. I try to avoid Zeus as much as possible. Uh,
oh, like yeah, Zeus is lightning. Like depending on if I get it on my attack or on my dash or again, I mean, so much of it comes down to like whatever your weapon you're working with too. Like I every time I've got the bow and arrow, and I choose to like take a buff that's gonna like that's gonna like power up my attack. I in that first room, um, I then go to fight the first enemies in there, and I'm like, oh crap, I've got the arrow, so I can't just like hack and slash with that buff I just picked up. I have to do the like pull the arrow back and and shoot it and stuff. I'm like, damn it, that was a bad choice. Oops.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's still like there's just such a wide array of like again different gameplay styles, and then within those gameplay styles, you know, within each weapon there's a million different ways to customize it because of both the buffs that you can get as well as the Titan blood stuff that you can kind of upgrade going into the fight. I love it.
When
It's
you
great.
get a new weapon and like you meet with any of the gods, sometimes the gods will, or just when you have it equipped, the gods might make comment about it if they haven't made comments about it before. For example, I
Yeah.
use Vrothra a lot, and so a lot of the comments are like from like whenever I hit up Poseidon or Zeus, they're like, "Oh, you're using your dad's old weapon. Like that's super cool." But what I
Hmm.
and like Ares is just like, "Oh, that weapon's so like." Ares is such a like I love it because Ares is like a weapon dork. Like when it comes to weapons, he's like a super dork about it. Like he just like gives you like the stats on how that weapon's great.
Yeah.
But what I loved it when I hit him up when I had the gun. Uh, he literally says like he goes, if humans ever figure out that how this kind of weapon works, he goes, we're in for a totally different kind of era of warfare. And I'm like,
Mm.
huh, like that's quite interesting. But also the way he said it, he was kind of like horny for it, and that bothered me. Like it, like a lot of
It's
yeah, a lot
it's
of like
it's just Wonder Woman.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
all it is. He's the same Ares from
yeah.
Wonder Woman.
It's when it comes to like Ares, like he's super respectful to Zagreus, which I was not expecting out of like Ares from like mythology. And he's like, he
Hmm.
goes, Zagreus, like I'm definitely here to help you out, but also you should know I have a lot of respect for your dad. And like I'm like, this is not like Ares that I'm familiar with is like arrogant and like full of himself and like is like hyper violent and terrible, like not or like a schemer from like God of War or something like that, not
Hmm.
like this like respectful himbo.
Well, it's like I like it because I mean the at the core of that respect is Ares being like, hey, a lot of people die because of me, so I respect that your dad takes care of all
Yeah,
that shit. Like he does all that stuff because I don't want to deal with that paperwork. Like I feel like that's the relationship that Ares has with Hades. But
which
even
is
that
probably why
goes to
Hades doesn't like Ares. Hades has a
yeah.
very
I
good
mean,
reason not
like
to like any of the Olympians. I just want to put that out there. They're
yeah,
like your dad's such a sourpuss. Like he's not cool. He doesn't chill at all. And then you look at it and you're like, wait, what do they do on Mount Olympus? They just lounge around and do nothing. What does Hades do every time you see him? He's doing work. He's filling out
yeah.
paperwork. Like
As he's filling out paperwork, there are fun little times where you know there'll just be a line of shades that are like there, and they'll walk up and he'll be like, I noticed it because I was like off talking to Nyx or something like that, and he's talking, and I'm like, what the hell's Hades doing? And he's like granting people's requests as like shades pop up, and he's like, yep, okay, we'll do that, and then like the shade disappears, and then like the next one in line comes up, and it's just like, oh yeah, he is super admin. The reason I asked about the going back a little ways, the times you're actually prompted to rest. The second time that I got prompted to rest really went into a little bit more of the backstory that you were talking about leading into that, about how Zagreus was maybe lazy or a layabout kind of thing before all this really kind of kicked off, and it was a funny other side of seeing kind of the relationship between Hades and Zag there, and yeah, there's just again even the relationships with the gods and just how all of the gods are personified here. The fact that Hermes is, of course, a quick talking guy, and he's, he kind of pops in there. He will, almost consistently have the most text in his little bubbles, but he also just like races through them. Or, Dionysus always basically being like, hey, dude, let's just hang out and get some drinks. Come on, man, hurry up, make it up to Olympus so we can do that.
We're gonna have a feast when you get here, man. It's gonna be epic.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool party time.
I love Dionysus. He's so
Artemis.
cool.
Yeah. Artemis, like we talked about, like the fact that she kind of like respects the hunt that Zag is on, and Zeus and Poseidon always being like, "Hey, little nephew, like we're so happy for you, we're so proud of you. Come on, buddy, you can
Poseidon
do this."
literally calls Zagreus little Hades. That's the most like uncle shit I can think of. Is like, "Hey, little Hades, what up, buddy?" Dionysus calls Zagreus Zag all the time. He goes, "Hey, Zag boy, Zag buddy."
Yeah.
But Athena is also like she's super like concerned about like, "Hey, how can we help you best to like get out of there?" And like, because Athena was the person in the story who Nyx contacted first to let them know Zagreus existed.
Yeah.
And that he's trying to get out.
Yeah,
so.
She's the first one you will always meet, the first one you will always encounter to kind of kick off that aspect of the story.
And she's super cool. Her dash ability is my favorite because the deflect.
It's interesting because I ended up picking up the game after watching our friend Jess Cogwell, her stream of the game, again, like one night last week, and she, in talking about it, like she was trying to get that, like that was the build she was gunning for, was something with the dash deflect basically ability, divine dash is what it's called.
It's so perfect for if you want to dash to evade, dash to charge into people. It's perfect.
Yeah, it ended up being like that. Watching her play and use that build has like influenced it's less so now, but it influenced like builds that I was using early on. Was like, okay, Jess was using this and she had just beat Hades, and then she ended up beating Hades a second time in that run. And so I was like, okay, let me do that. And that like deflectability becomes like basically completely necessary if you're ever facing off in like a room with like a shit ton of witches that just shoot orbs every which way, because there's almost no way to avoid those, so you have to deflect them. You have to have an ability that like will bounce those back at people, and Athena being the only god that gives you that deflect ability makes her kind of essential at times, and if not, you're just going to have a much harder time through some of those chambers. Like I've encountered a couple of those times where I'm like, well, crap, I do not have the build for this enemy at all. This might be where I call it this time, and if I make it through, that's like by the skin of my teeth. But yeah, it's so fun, and again, like, no runs in this feel wasted. You're always getting something out of it, and not in the like, oh, I'm just getting better at the game sense. It's like, no, the game is giving you things that are letting you upgrade other things. Again, going to the, like, if this isn't your kind of game, like, I would still encourage you to check it out if you like fun action hack and slash kinds of games, because you can put on that god mode thing and you'll start out with 20% damage resistance, and it goes up 2% every time you die. So like, yeah, you're still probably going to die a lot, but eventually you won't, because the damage resistance will be so high that you're just going to get, you're just going to plow through the thing. And yeah, just enjoy the story as it's kind of doled out, run over run over run. It's a ton of fun. So yeah, Hades, real good game. It definitely shot into the game of the year conversation for me as well. And again, as somebody who doesn't like these kinds of games typically, that just like with Pyre, it's like, yeah, Supergiant is really good at making games that somehow draw me into genres that I don't otherwise usually care about. And they, like, the entryway, the thing that gets me in the door is the style that they do, but the fact that they back it up with such great substance is just a testament to that company.
Yeah.
So shout out to Supergiant, shout out to Hades, and if you're checking that game out, let us know what you think about it, because it's a real good game. But yeah, that is going to do it for this week's episode of That Nerdy Site Show. Thank you, Cam, for joining me. You can follow Cam at Rev Cavett. Anything you want to give a shout out to? Any plugs, Cam?
Only thing I'm going to plug is that we have a very cool announcement that's going to be coming out soon. Keep an eye out on that. I've kind of been hinting about it in recent episodes, but there's been some significant movement on it, so I'm super stoked that we're going to be able to announce it soon. So keep your eye out for that.
Yeah, we have a. You can follow me at Trevor J. Starkey. I will kind of echo that in saying, hey, we have our anniversary as That Nerdy Site is November 1st. So
Also my birthday.
There may be some announcements that day. And yes, also Cam's birthday. Happy birthday, Cam. So yeah, we might have some new things lined up, new ideas, either ready to go right then and there, or we'll announce kind of new things that we intend to kind of kick off the ground. So stay tuned for all of that here beginning of next month. It's gonna be a good time. Other thing I would give a shout out to, I was on One Big Topic with Mario Not Bros, which also tangentially may or may not tie into the thing that Cam is teasing.
Spoilers, Trevor.
Spoilers indeed. But I believe that episode is going to go live tomorrow if you're listening to this the day it goes live. Basically Tuesday the 6th, I think, is when that is supposed to go out there. So check that out. He and I talk about kind of the, quote unquote, the dream of getting into the games industry and what that looks like, what the realities of that situation may or may not entail, and how that dream changes over time. And it was a really good conversation. It was good catching up with Mario and just kind of, recounting a lot of a lot of my personal journey in the last 5 years and kind of the ups and downs of all of it. So check that out if you are able. I'll be tweeting about that, as well as we'll tweet it out from the That Nerdy Site account as well. You can follow all of us over at That Nerdy Site and check out thatnerdysite.com for all of the latest from us. If you liked what you heard, once again, please rate, review, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Maybe even consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/thatnerdysite, where every patron gets early access to a monthly bonus episode of this very show. As we touched on last week, I believe, this month's early access episode is a 4.5-hour epic of me, Cam, Frank, and special guest Brandon Gann doing our damnedest to run through the PlayStation 4 exclusives bracket that Kinda Funny did in their PS I Love You episode a month or so back. And yeah, the Pyre, makes a very surprisingly strong showing, thanks in part to RNGesus, who came in to help settle a few of our tiebreakers. So check that out. I thought it was a really fun episode, and it's definitely a long one. So check it out now. Just go support us on Patreon. Check it out now, and then you've got it. You've got time to get to it and get through it before the PlayStation 5 launches next month. So yeah, that's gonna do it. Thank you again, Cam, for joining me. Thank you for listening. As always, stay nerdy and be good to each other.